I titled today's conversation mind map, Being. I could also title it Simply Being, yet I chose Being. I would like to relate this over to the video that we released on Sunday, where we discussed being as I am, being as you are, acknowledging that right now you are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. These are wonderful words that point to the fact that you exist and that your existence itself is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Therefore, if you desire love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, you are it. Or we could say you have it. That's what I mean by desire means having. And we also said stillness means having. Silence means having. James Allen, in his wonderful book, The Heavenly Life, articulated it this way. He said, "The secret of life, of abundant life, with its strength, its felicity, and its unbroken peace, is to find the divine center within oneself, and to live in and from that, instead of in that outer circumference of disturbances, the clamors, cravings, and argumentations which make up the animal and intellectual person. These selfish elements constitute the mere husks of life, and must be thrown away by those who would penetrate to the central heart of things, to life itself." I would also like to relate this over to the conversation that I had with Reuben Brooks and his members of his community. A wonderful conversation with his clients. It was a live conversation, live in-person presentation and conversation. I'll link in the description to it. I trust you'll enjoy and benefit greatly from it. In there, I brought up 7 ways of acknowledging that I am. 7 ways that I have applied personally and work with him and thousands of entrepreneurs, which naturally manifests then as an ideal, harmonious, successful business, and also a flow-based journey to manifesting that business. Because you can manifest your business in a stress, frustrating way if you would like. Or you could manifest your business in a joyous, fun way if you would like. It's up to you. Being as you are, or as James Allen mentioned, living from the divine center within oneself, is the way of living the magic path of intuition, hearing and listening exclusively to the still small voice, which speaks of clarity, which guides you from within in relation to any key decisions on the entrepreneurial journey. The question is, does the individual listen to the still small voice? Do they listen to intuition? If not, what are they listening to? Well, they may be listening to the mental chatter, which can then manifest as, if they identify with the mental chatter, as the outer circumference of disturbances, the clamors, cravings, and argumentations. As I always say, attention appears to go in a direction to reveal what has been identified with. Here, what is being discussed is be as you are. You could say identify with the fact that you exist now as love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. That purifies the subconscious mind, releases identification to what the Bible refers to as the old man, so that you may operate from the divine center. Now, for me, in the earlier stages, I was very identified with untrue, illusory, unreal beliefs in mind, which would manifest as I would identify with it. Certainly, it wasn't from the divine center. The divine center of love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. These were untrue, illusory, unreal, egotistical beliefs, we could say, which he says here, these selfish elements which constitute the mere husks of life. These identifications of illusions of separation from the fact that I exist, the fact that you exist now in a perfect state of love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. These identifications would manifest as suffering, clamors, cravings, argumentations. One could say I was not living on purpose, which is true. Living on purpose means doing what you love to do, doing it from a state of flow, and experiencing the life that you truly desire, which we can simplify and say being as you are. So 7 ways that point to the fact that you exist now as love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. And upon abiding in the divine center, which means specifically, I am equals the divine center. I and the Father are one. And as the Father is greater than I choose to witness delight of the Father, delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart, as stated in the Bible. I choose to witness delight of the Father in, on, and as the outer appearances of God. Because to me, there's only God. Only God is real. Only God animates all that appears to reveal the reality of God, which is good, perfect, and pleasing, as stated in Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, which means release identification. So we're going to talk about 7 ways here, which again, they were articulated very precisely in that conversation we had with Ruben's clients. I'll link in the description to it. Now, 7 ways of acknowledging that I am. 7 ways which release identification to the illusions of separation. Inquires into the sure foundation of I, the true nature of I. As he said here, divine center within oneself. So you could say the true nature of I is inquired into and acknowledged so that the individual can be authentic being, which manifest as ideal harmonious life, ideal harmonious business, ideal harmonious relationships. I speak from experience on this because this is what I was doing since 2004 when I discovered this information from Think and Grow Rich. So 7 ways to release the illusions of separation, the untrue, illusory beliefs in mind to be as you are. Number 1 is autosuggestion. So what I did was, there is a chapter in the book, The Heavenly Life by James Allen, called The Original Simplicity, which again is the divine center, the reality of God. Original simplicity. What I did was I took a quote and I related it to each of these 7 to stimulate our conversation with respect to each of these. First is autosuggestion. So you hear me speak a lot about autosuggestion. Autosuggestion is what I discovered in 2004 through Think and Grow Rich. Upon applying it, I was able to get out of $50,000 debt in a joyous, flow-based way rather than a stressful way by applying autosuggestion. Because autosuggestions acknowledge being as I am. Love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment as symbols. If I say, I have a lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit, that autosuggestion is a symbol of love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. That is what I personally consider to be love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. You may have an autosuggestion like that, or you may not. Listen to yourself and trust yourself. Do not let, as Steve Jobs said, the noise of opinions drown out your own inner voice. What is it that you truly desire to experience that is a symbol of love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment? Turn it into an auto-suggestion to release identification to the illusions of separation from it, so that you can be that way, which is your true way of being. Why would anyone consciously suggest anything to themselves that is not from the premise of truth? And to relate, he said, let life cease to be lived as a fragmentary thing, and let it be lived as a perfect whole. The simplicity of the perfect will then be revealed. Now, I'm not sure if you're a student of my Subconscious Mind program. I recommend being a student of my Subconscious Mind program. I'll link in the description to it. Built on the foundation of applying this information since 2004, building 3 successful businesses, harmonious lifestyle, ideal harmonious relationships, and students of that program have, you name it, become financially free, manifested their ideal relationships, released identification to illusions of separation-based habits, which we discussed also in the video where we spoke about outwitting the devil. The false light. What I mean by that is true delight comes from God. God is the source of delight. In him there is no darkness at all, as stated in 1 John 1:5. This then is the message which we have heard of him, and declare unto you, that God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. So, practically speaking, if the individual engages in a habit which they get some temporary relief from, and then a whole bunch of suffering afterwards, that is not true delight. The individual may release identification to the illusions of separation from delight, and thus not experience anymore those habits of suffering. We'll talk about that in the Subconscious Mind program. I'll link in the description to it. And a portion of it is built on the foundation of autosuggestion. Because autosuggestions are acknowledgement of being. Whether it be general, like, I am love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Or specific, I make X amount of dollars per month. It purifies the subconscious mind from those illusory beliefs that could suggest otherwise, that generate mental chatter in the individual's mind that suggest otherwise. Where does that mental chatter arise from? That mental chatter arises from beliefs that are stored in the subconscious mind. Once those beliefs are released, that mental chatter no longer appears in mind. What appears then? The still small voice that speaks from the premise of truth, love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, the greatest teacher in the universe. As we discussed recently from the book Abd Allah, Teacher Healer, by Walter C. Lanyon, which I would like to discuss in upcoming videos. So create autosuggestions. Say them to yourself in the morning. Read them to yourself when you wake up. You may also, and you can do both, as discussed in Think and Grow Rich, prior to going to sleep. Or record them to yourself and play them on loop. Use an app like Parrot. Record them to yourself and play them on loop. Would you not rather listen to information that is pointing to the truth, rather than listening to information that seems to suggest untrue, which is also an illusion because the individual is suggesting what the information means? Yet to keep it simple, choose the words and sequence of words that point directly to the truth for you via auto-suggestion. Number 2 is self-talk. James Allen says, looking through the woven network of their own illusions, the individual sees interminable complication and unfathomable mystery, and so loses themselves in the labyrinths of their own making. If the individual says, "This is confusing, I don't understand," those are illusions. You do understand. Being is simple. Be as you are. Listen to yourself. Trust yourself. Do what you love to do. I understand if it can appear challenging to do what you love to do, be as you are, because the individual may be identified with illusory beliefs of separation from the fact, which is completely illusory. Separation-based beliefs that suggest separation from love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, and thus we could say they're not allowing themselves to be. Perfect example would be on the entrepreneurial journey to manifesting the vision. There are tasks, there are projects, there are initiatives, and the individual commits to them, and they flow on the journey to manifesting the vision. Yet if they seem to procrastinate or anything, which after they don't do the thing that they genuinely love to do, they may shame or condemn themselves. No shame in condemnation. The individual can ask themselves the question. They can talk to themselves. Why does it appear this way? What is the way that I would like it to appear? And then move from thinking of the end to thinking from the end. Exactly like we discussed in Sunday's video. Again, I'll link in the description to it. Number 3 is revision. Inspired by Neville Goddard, and also something that I used to do back in the days called timeline regression, NLP, timeline regression, where I revisit past memories and change my relationship to those past memories. That way, every memory in my past, from which I thought was holding me back, which was illusory, because it was a belief identified to that memory. It was a belief identified to that memory, which was an illusion of separation-based belief. As I changed that belief, the way I relate to that memory changed. I had what some may call traumatic experiences, a bunch of them actually, while I was a child. I saw some things that I would not want anyone to see. I experienced some things that I would not want anyone to experience. Yet my relationship to those experiences are harmonious. I have a harmonious relationship with those experiences. When I think about those experiences in my past, I don't shame, condemn, fear, or have any limiting beliefs in relation to those memories. That's because I accept myself. Otherwise, what happens is the individual may, if they identify with those beliefs in relation to those experiences in the past, if those experiences, let's say, were what they would consider to be traumatic, they may unnecessarily try to control things when what we discussed is give up the illusions of control, surrender to God, surrender to the flow of God, as we discussed recently. I'll link in the description to it. As he says here, let the individual put away egotism, and they will see the universe in all the beauty of its pristine simplicity. Let them annihilate the delusion of the personal I, and they will destroy the illusions which spring from that I. They will thus re-become a little child and revert to original simplicity. So what this means is I have been created in the perfect image of the Creator. I and the Father are one, yet the Father is greater than I. I appear to witness the light of the Father. Only God gives and fulfills desires of the heart. It would be, as he says here, a delusion of the personal I to think otherwise. It would be unwise to think otherwise. Unwise to think otherwise. To think in terms of separation from God, the source of delight. And so by going back to past memories and relating to them harmoniously from the premise of love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, your true nature, being, what happens is the individual does not relate to those memories in an inharmonious way, thus not being present in the present moment, thus not being in the present whole. Remember, as we go back to the beginning here, the secret of life, of abundant life with its strength, its felicity, and its unbroken peace, is to find the divine center within oneself. So beyond, we could say, the illusions of the I, the untrue beliefs, which are stored in the subconscious mind, the unreal, the illusory beliefs of separation. I am one with the Father. I and the Father are one, yet the Father is greater than I. And that means that I can witness the greatness of the Father in, on, and as outer appearances of God with increasing frequency on a continuous basis as far as the senses perceive. That's the original simplicity. That is being childlike again. You see the childlikeness of that statement. I and the Father are one, yet the Father is greater than I. I appear to witness the light of my Father, in, on, and as outer appearances of God. It's a childlike way of being. Next is emotional release. He says, life is simple. Being is simple. The universe is simple. Complexity arises in ignorance and self-delusion. So if the individual is about to react to an appearance, they have an opportunity right there, if strong emotions arise in the body, to allow them to be released. Emotions are energy in motion. They do not hold you back. It's not bad to feel your emotions. Allow the emotions to be released. As the emotions are released, so do the untrue illusory beliefs stored in the subconscious mind, from which untrue thinking arises in mind, which the individual may associate with the emotions, are released. The beliefs are released. The emotions are allowed to be released. The beliefs, the untrue beliefs, and thoughts that suggest the emotions are problematic, which arise from those beliefs, are released. And the way that I found to do this very effectively is to just breathe. Take a deep breath if strong emotions arise, and breathe out. Breathe in deep and out. Such a simple, powerful practice. As he said, life is simple. Being is simple. Breathing is natural. Being as you are is natural. Being is natural. Number 5 is environment. He says the individual evolves outward to the periphery of complexity and then involves backward to the central simplicity. When the individual discovers that it is mathematically impossible for them to know the universe before knowing themselves, they then start upon the way, capital W, the way, which leads to the original simplicity. They begin to unfold from within, and as they unfold themselves, they enfold the universe. So environment is an interesting topic. If the individual seems to be stuck, let's say, in an environment that's not supportive, then a good question to ask is, why do I choose this environment? And the belief is revealed. Then as that belief is revealed, no shame in condemnation, apply auto-suggestion to release identification to that belief, and I can assure you that that environment will change. I was watching this interesting documentary the other day on cults, and one of the things I like to do is understand why people end up in these kinds of environments. Whatever kind of patterns can be summed up to subconsciously seeking for external love, happiness, peace, bliss, and fulfillment. And these organizations may seem to suggest to the individual eternal fulfillment, yet deliver surface-level fulfillment, we could say, masquerading as light, like we discussed in our recent video on outwitting the devil. I'll link in the description to it. And when these individuals start to find love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment within as existence itself, they end up leaving these organizations, and these organizations fall apart as they were built on a faulty foundation to begin with. So choose environments that supportively encourage growth and development in relation to how you truly desire to live. Number 6 is transmutation. He says, they who will not give up their secret lust, their covetousness, their anger, their opinion about this or that, can see nor know nothing. They will remain a dullard in the school of wisdom, though they will be accounted learned in the colleges. So many insightful things with respect to this particular quote here. Yet in regards to transmutation, when we see anger or any kind of emotion that arises, which we may call anger, Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich also spoke about sexual transmutation. Any emotion that arises, that emotion, which again is energy in motion, may be related to differently in mind and transmuted thus to a creative expression. If you consider yourself to be an artist, which I consider everybody to be an artist, then you know exactly what it is that I'm talking about. Maybe you experienced strong emotions which you could call anger, or whatever kind of strong emotions. For me, it was anxiety. And then upon relating to the energy in motion differently, ideally I recommend from the premise of truth, love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, it was transmuted into excitement. One of the examples was public speaking. Because as a result of identification to an illusory, untrue belief, where you could say it was me appearing to hold myself back from public speaking, thus experiencing anxiety, I understood exactly what was going on. It was an opportunity to purify the subconscious mind from the illusory beliefs. And one of the ways to do it is through transmutation. I genuinely desired to speak publicly, yet the illusory beliefs were suggesting otherwise, and actually generating emotions to be experienced in a particular way, where I would call it anxiety. Then upon relating to the emotions from the premise of truth, love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, I experienced it as excitement. And the way I did it was I would relate to the outcome. I saw myself experiencing a wonderful relationship with the audience. I saw them benefiting greatly. I saw them congratulating me for a wonderful presentation. And I also heard them and saw them in imagination as indicating that the results happened, sharing wonderful results that they had as a result of my presentations. This transmuted the energy in motion, where I was once experiencing that energy in motion, because remember, only the individual can label the emotions. So rather than labeling them as problematic, or this is holding me back, I experienced excitement, transmutation. Then we have be still, be still. So we discussed this on Sunday's video with another nuanced point, because I got asked the question, Joseph, you speak a lot about being in flow, yet you also speak about being still. How do they relate? Well, I am still. You are still. All these appearances change. You have never changed. You think you have changed because you may think of yourself as only body and mind. You can certainly relate ideally to body and mind. I teach that. Body is not a problem. Mind is not a problem. You can relate ideally with body, allow body to flow, and also you can relate ideally with mind, as stated in the Hermetica. 2 gifts were bestowed upon humanity. They were mind and speech. With mind and speech, that is how you discern what is untrue and release identification. You discern. How does the individual know if the body is not flowing, mind is not flowing? They can tell based on their thinking. And where are these untrue thinking patterns arising from? The untrue beliefs stored in the subconscious mind, which can be purified, with auto-suggestion, self-talk, revision, emotional release, environment, transmutation. So you're always still because I am aware of what I think. I know that I am love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. I know that you are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. By being still in the presence of God, you know your true nature because you realize you're not actually identified with this untrue thinking, illusory thinking. It only appears that way in mind with I. So I can change then because I am aware of what I think. And so I am always still. You are always still. There are moments where we can practice being still. By that I mean specifically for the practice, realize that you are still by releasing identification to the thoughts, allowing the emotions to be released. Sitting still, you'll realize that you are still. Yet I am also still while I flow on the day-to-day initiatives to manifesting my vision. This is what I teach entrepreneurs. Remain in your flow. I am still while I flow. I am still while I flow because I am aware of what I relate to appearances. I am still. Yet body may appear to flow. Mind may appear to flow. All of that happens ideally automatically from the divine center, which is the individual relationship to God. As he says here, cease to speculate about God and find the all-embracing good within thee. Then shalt thou see the emptiness and vanity of speculation, knowing thyself one with God. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. Let's conclude this with an auto-suggestion to further encourage. You could say, being as I am, simply being. I know that I am love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, unconditionally so, and thus beyond condition, from which I relate ideally to what appears on the bridge of incidents to manifesting my vision, remaining in flow as I am still, witnessing body flowing as an emanation of God, manifesting heaven on earth with increasing frequency on a continuous basis as far as the senses perceive. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk with you soon. Take care.